You had to go along with all the other brackets that are filled out and will be proven wrong. Here's another one that will be proven wrong in some ways, just like everyone is. Okay, I first picked the first four games, and games Radford and Texas Southern, and as cool as it would be to see St. Bonaventure and Arizona State win, I believe it'll instead be UCLA and Syracuse coming out on top. Virginia and Maryland-Baltimore County. It was a sweet shot that Maryland-Baltimore County had to win their conference tournament, and it'd be sweet to have it happen against Virginia, but it's not happening. Virginia will win. Creighton and Kansas State. I'm going Kansas State. Kentucky and Davidson. There does seem to be a 12/5 upset every year. Here it won't be Davidson over Kentucky, and the other 12/5 I believe won't happen is New Mexico State over Clemson, just because they talked about it on the selection show, which will fire up Clemson enough to not let it happen. So I'm going Clemson in that one. But I will go with the 12/5 upsets in the other two in Murray State and South Dakota State. Miami and Loyola. I'm going Miami. I watched Wright State's tournament game where the announcers talked about how they think their kids will be prepared for whatever foe they face. I know they say that about everyone, but I will, because of that, go with the 14/3 in Wright State. Nevada and Texas is tough, but I'm going Nevada. Cincinnati over Georgia State. Okay, now we have Xavier, and I predicted Texas Southern, which is better known as Michael Strahan University, the guy that's the NFL on Fox pregame show host. One thing they should do sometime is instead pair Texas Southern with Villanova, which is the alma mater of Michael Strahan's buddy, Howie Long, but the NCAA won't do it. Maybe there's enough girls on the NFL on Fox pregame show that would hate to see the contention between the two and pay the NCAA to make sure that never happens. But just like Michael Strahan University had the score ran up on them by North Carolina last year, it will happen again to them this year and every year they make the tournament. So if you ever watch the NFL on Fox pregame show and see Michael Strahan talk about running up the score, you'll know why. Missouri and Florida State. I'll go Florida State I'm going Missouri just because Florida State never seems to do anything in the dance. Well, picking two 12/5s, I'm going with all four 4 seeds beating the 13s like they're supposed to in Gonzaga, Auburn, and Wichita State, especially because Marshall and Charleston are happy just to be there, as is UNC Greensboro. San Diego State, I'm going with over Houston. Michigan over Montana. Providence is on a roll. They should have beaten Villanova in their conference tournament, so I'm going with them not only over Texas A&M, but also North Carolina. Villanova, after losing in the second round last year, they're determined to not let it happen again this year, and of course, not lose in the first round. So I'm going with Villanova. I'll go with Virginia Tech over Alabama, just because Nick Saban doesn't coach Alabama's basketball team. Going with Florida and Texas Tech. Already went with one 14 upset, so that won't be another one. Going with Butler, simply because they don't lose in the first round. I would take Cal State Fullerton over Purdue if it was baseball, but since it's basketball, I'm going Purdue. The Penn kids may have higher ACT scores than the Kansas players, but they are not better basketball players, so I will go with Kansas, continuing the ones' perfect record over the 16s. Seton Hall thinks they got screwed in the first round of the tournament last year, so they're determined to not let it come down to this year, and will beat NC State. Okay, as much as I'd like to see TCU beat Syracuse like they're supposed to, just because TCU doesn't have as much history, and the one time I do want the 6 to beat the 11 seed Syracuse will come out on top. Michigan State is determined not to have another Middle Tennessee State, and will beat Bucknell. And I'll be lazy and go with Duke over Iona just because of the name. But I know Rhode Island may not have the name, but they are good, and they'll beat Oklahoma, who does have the name recognition. Now we have the second round. Okay, I'm going with Kentucky. I'm going with Wright State's magic to end as they lose to Miami, and Cincinnati over Nevada. Going with Gonzaga over South Dakota State, just like in what happened last year. Going with Michigan and, as already mentioned, Providence. Just because there seems to be a few double-digit seeds in the tournament, or in the Sweet 16 every year, I'm going with Murray State. And as the other one, Butler, along with Florida over Texas Tech. Okay, Seton Hall, they're not getting past Kansas. And then it's a pretty safe bet that the Tigers will win this one, but I'm taking the Auburn Tigers. And just because of the name recognition, admittedly, Michigan State and Duke meeting in the Sweet 16. Now the Sweet 16 matchups. Most years Kentucky would win, but this year I'm going Virginia and Miami, setting up a rematch, which Virginia will win. Going with Xavier over Gonzaga and Michigan over Providence, but then Michigan over Xavier as the 1-1 seed that's not in the Final Four. Okay, Murray State, their magic is not continuing past Villanova, but I will go with Butler's magic to continue against Florida, but not against Villanova. I'm going Villanova in the Final Four. Going Kansas over Auburn and Duke over Michigan State, but then Kansas in the Final Four. So now we have the Final Four, which will be Virginia, Michigan, Villanova, and Kansas. I'm going with Michigan over Virginia and Kansas over Villanova, and then the championship game, Kansas. Okay, I know this will end up being wrong in some ways, like every other one will. But thanks for watching.